All right, FightHype.com here with one of the best female fighters in all of boxing, the former three-division champ, the reigning and undefeated WBA minimum weight champion, defending her world title in her ESPN debut, her top-ranked debut, November 12th in Las Vegas on ESPN. Seniesa Estrada. I'm still, getting it right. But Seniesa, before we start with everything, you still wearing the cape to the ring like you did all these years now that you were top ranked?
Oh yeah, still wearing it.
What's that from? Because you're the first fighter I ever seen rock a cape to the ring.
So the name Superbad came from my favorite fighter, Sugar Ray Leonard. When he was a kid, they used to call him Superbad in the gym. So a lot of people probably don't know that about him. He says that in his book, though, which is a great book that I've read like over 20 times. So that's where the cape came from. And then my trainer is a huge Elvis fan, and Elvis always wore capes. So that's kind of where the cape came from. Yeah.
I love Sugar Ray Leonard, and I never knew that. So you took the nickname he had before Sugar, and yeah, ran with it.
Ran with it. Yep.
But does that show the fact that you looked up to a Sugar Ray Leonard? Does that show in your style that you're Mexican American, but you don't come forward high guard, look at like you rely on a lot of hand speed and foot movement and things like that. So does that show in the influence?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up watching Sugar Ray Leonard and studying him, and I still watch him till this day. So I love how Sugar Ray Leonard was not only was he a great boxer, good footwork and movement, but when he had to stay in there and fight, he would stay in there and fight. So he was a fighter that was able to do both, and that's exactly what I try to do.
He was a finisher and a killer, right?
He sure was, yeah.
And it's funny, actually, because, I mentioned the Mexican thing, and the Mexican fighters always have that great left hook to the body and to the head, but he did too, right?
He did, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Leonard, especially those fights versus Duran, like, man, I think like a lot of people weren't used to seeing that type of Leonard. But like I said, when it came down to him having to stay inside and fight with somebody, he was so good at it.
Now, speaking of these talented guys in men's boxing and how they compare to you, we talk about Terrence Crawford and Jaron Ennis as the great switch hitters in men's boxing, but is Seniesa Estrada the best switch hitter we have in females boxing?
Oh, for sure, no doubt, definitely. I mean, I've had knockouts and stoppages, not only in the orthodox stance, but southpaw. And my last fight was a perfect example. That was with a left overhand right to the head, and I've also had some knockouts in my southpaw stance to the body as well. So it's something that I have just always had in my style since I was a kid. When I first started boxing, I started left-handed, and my dad would turn me back to orthodox. Mm-hmm. And every time I was sparring, my instinct was to switch to southpaw. And my dad would always get upset and say, go back to your orthodox stance. Like you can't fight southpaw. And I don't know. I think it's like this old school mentality of like, it not being okay to like be southpaw or to switch. So my dad always would try to make me stay orthodox. And I just couldn't. My instinct was to, at certain times, switch when I would see an opening or a punch that I could land or a move that I can do in my southpaw stance. And growing up in the amateurs and my fights and sparring, that's just always what I've done. And now as a professional, I've been working on perfecting certain punches in my southpaw stance, and I'll be showing that this fight coming up.
And in this fight coming up, Jasmine Villarino from Argentina. We always see a lot of girls come from Argentina, like so many in females boxing. But on paper, to keep it real, she's overmatched. But we've seen you in the past, when they put someone in there that's not supposed to be in there with you, you actually hold the fastest knockout in women's boxing when they put you in there with a girl like Miranda Adkins. So maybe not asking for the fastest knockout again in women's boxing, but are you looking to show next Saturday night, this girl is many levels, you're many levels above where she's at, and you'll show it in the ring?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I go into every fight, no matter, even if my opponent's record isn't my record and I know that they're not on my level skillfully, I still prepare as if I'm going in there against the world champion and going in there against the best, because I know that my opponent is training her ass off to just go in there and be the best that she's ever been, because she's facing someone like me and she wants to beat me. She wants to take my belt. And that just it just makes me even more motivated to train even harder and to make sure that I go in there and I show her that she's definitely not on my level. So if you're saying that if I'm gonna get the knockout, if that's what you're
Pretty much,
you're
yeah, pretty much,
saying,
yeah.
I would say, I mean, I go into every fight not thinking that I'm gonna get the knockout. You know, I never go in there with that mentality. But yes, if I would be disappointed in myself if I go 10 rounds with Jasmine. So
And you know, I know you're looking to the future. You got big things going with Top Rank, even LeBron James. But just to conclude and close the chapter before you, with any disappointment that, like, I'm assuming here, but I imagine you looked up to Oscar De La Hoya coming from East LA as a fighter, and then he becomes your promoter. And you know, unfortunately, you're not able to last your whole career with him, and maybe you're feeling like I should have been a star already at this point, right? So why could you take me through why it didn't work out with Oscar, and your final thoughts on that?
I mean, it's no secret that I wanted more money. That's all I can really say. And you know, it's unfortunate that we couldn't come to an agreement. And Oscar was not involved in any of it, as far as trying to reach out to me and trying to figure things out and make it work. So I never heard from him about throughout these whole 11 months of everything that was going on. So that's disappointing.
Any part of you like didn't really love him as my promoter, but I still love him as the fighter? I looked at, like, you know, do you compartmentalize, or
I have absolutely
yeah.
no feelings at all. I don't even think about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know, you had Katie Taylor recently come out and put you in her top 5 pound for pound. A lot of people, other female fighters, believe that's where you belong. What do you got to do? Because Bumgarner, you know, she got the fight. She got her fight against Mayer. Taylor got her fight against Serrana. Shields has gotten her fights. What do you got to do to cement yourself with those women as the top of the sport?
Yeah, I just think going into the big unification fights that I want, and fighting the best, that's definitely going to do it. So unfortunately, this whole year for me was wasted when it came to racking up world titles like I wanted to. But I mean, that's okay, because women's boxing only got better this year in the time that I've been off. So I'm coming back at such a great time in women's boxing. So in the beginning of the year, we're going after those unification fights, and I think that'll definitely solidify where I should be on the pound for pound list.
Unifications at 105 or 108, because you do have belts.
Unifications at 108 first. Okay. And then I'm sorry, 105 first, and then 108. And
then you won a belt at 112 in maybe the biggest fight of your career. So I said earlier, you're waiting for the fight, but you kind of already fought it against Esparza and won. Yeah. She's put in work since. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would definitely like to fight her again. You know, hopefully she continues to win and gets all the belts, because that'll be a huge fight between us. And that's definitely in the future for sure.
You almost feel like that fight it got kicked off too soon, because this year, you know what I mean? Yeah. Now
it totally did. It totally did. It got kicked off way too soon, and that's I think that was just the the matchmaking and the how can I say this? The matchmaking and the push from Golden Boy at the wrong time. I think there was hardly no build up for it. Of course, the fans loved it, because in just the little time that they knew that we were going to fight each other with our whole back and forth rivalry, people loved it. But at the same time, there was not the buildup was just not enough. And then plus we both should have made way more money than what we did. So the second time around is gonna be even bigger and better. So it's great.
And it would be a unification because she's, to her credit, she's grabbed 2 belts since you beat her. And
yeah, huge unification fight.
so that was a case of we have too much marination in boxing now, but that was a case of under marination, right?
Under marination, yeah.
Right.
I remember my trainer telling me that he didn't want me to take the fight because he wasn't okay with how much money they were offering me, and he wasn't okay with just the different terms. And so I was like, he's like, okay, let's go home. We just left the Golden Boy office after a meeting about the fight. And he's like, all right, go home and think about it and let me know what you want to do. And I remember texting him that night and I said, I'm going to fight. I said, I'm going to fight her and I'm going to beat her. Let's do it. Just because, I mean, I wasn't happy with the money either, but at the same time, I just wanted to shut her up so badly that I wanted to take the fight either way. And that's also another thing in women's boxing. You know how the talk was that there's the biggest fights in women's boxing the biggest fights in boxing this year have been by female fighters, which is because like we want to make those big fights because we want to get to the big money. We want to make money. And with men, they're already making so much money that it's like, okay, let me fight. I'm going to fight right now and I'm going to make $7 to $10 million. And then, I can have another huge fight that the fans want to see, but I'm just going to chill and take an easier fight before I get to that fight. That's because like they're already making all the money. So that doesn't motivate you to want to like be eager to get those big fights and to take those big fights. And in women's boxing, we have to do that. We want to hurry up and make those big fights happen because we want to get the big money.
And that's why they're selling the fight. They're not just fighting the fight. They've sold the fight with the like you and Marlon did in 2019. You giving us the whole package. You know, the matchup, the build up. It's got to be because if you guys don't do that, you don't get the attention, right? So it's
exactly, yeah.
Right. And before I let you go, speaking of marination and everything, your former stablemate Ryan Garcia. I know I still your boy. I still your friend, right? You know,
yeah.
So, do you feel just I know you focus on the fighting part, but just to talk business for a second, do you feel like Golden Boy's right in saying we don't want to do that Tank fight unless we get our, the zone gets a piece of it too? Or should they just say Tank's the A side, Ryan, we'll go ahead and shoot you over to Showtime. Go ahead and go for it. What do you think?
I mean, it sucks because I don't know all the details, so I don't want to say too much, but if it is up to the networks and them not being able to come to agreement, that really sucks because both of the fighters want to do it. Both of they've agreed to the terms of it and everything else. So to just be held back because of the networks not making it work really sucks. So I could imagine how frustrated Ryan is right now about it. And it's just unfortunate. I hope they can come to an agreement and somehow make it work. But at the same time, the networks, of course, put in so much money to each fighter that in the business side of it, of course, I understand that they also want to be the ones to have the fight.
As tall and as fast as your boy is, Ryan, he's an underdog in that fight against Tank. Why do you think he could win that fight and he would win that fight?
I mean, I didn't know that he would be the underdog in that fight, but I mean, I've been saying it. As long as Ryan corrects those little mistakes that he makes, which I think he will and he has been, and I think that Ryan can be unstoppable.
Yeah, size, height, power, speed. Yeah, he's got a lot to work with, but maybe you got to show him some of that flexibility in the upper body a little bit. I don't know. Is that what you're talking about when you're saying the things that need to be worked on, or?
I just think footwork and for being a tall guy, just not letting someone take advantage, not letting his height go, making sure that his footwork also helps him take as much advantage of that height as possible.
Because it seems like sometimes he'll give up the height to try to walk him into the hook, right? Instead of, I guess, imposing the jab and I mean, but
Right.
what you're getting at too. And
Yeah.
yeah. So, but anyways, Seniesa, thank you so much for your time. Really looking forward to seeing you show out for your first time on ESPN. Really hope you get those unifications now that you're with Top Rank, and of course the Esparza rematch down the line. Anything else you want to say to boxing fans before you get up out of here?
Thank you. No, I just want to say thank you everyone for the support, and I can't wait to be back. And yeah, that's it. Tune in November 12th.
Best of luck, Seniesa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks.